the four of you could just, just relatively quickly talk about your practices with volunteers, how you usually recruit them and retain them, and maybe any general issues that you're kind of have been struggling with, pandemic related or not pandemic related. Diane, could you go first?
Sure, of course. Hi, good morning, everyone. So Diane with Colony Senior Service Centers. In regards to the utilization of volunteers, this organization's been around about 40, well, it is 40 years this year. And so we've always have had volunteers. For the last 7 years, we're in our third 3-year cycle. We've been fortunate to be the sponsor of RSVP, and that's in Albany, Rensselaer, and Schenectady counties. So we have kind of 2 tracks that people normally will come to us in a volunteer capacity. We have individuals who volunteer for CSSC and are not RSVP, and vice versa. With our RSVP program, we have 83, we call them stations, and those are outside other nonprofits that we help secure volunteers for. And so working kind of in that federal guidelines, that's pretty precise. We do a lot of advertising and so forth. People come and they literally fill out an application. We have descriptions of all these organizations and what their needs are. And then based upon that, we try to, it's kind of like matchmaking. And so the pandemic has thrown us all for a loop in many regards, but we're getting back to doing that. And I just want to use a quick, for instance, so today, once a month, we have the Regional Food Bank brings a tractor trailer here, and we unload about 20,000 pounds of food, and we go and we drop it at seniors' homes all through the community where there's food insecurity. And so with that, are volunteers. And so I just want to, so those are individuals that come for a specific purpose. Even in the snow, in the midst of a pandemic, they still come. So, and we have probably between 300 and 400 volunteers that assist us either with RSVP or with just CSSC.
Billy Joe.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. I, along with Diane, am with the RSVP program. I'm housed at Saratoga County Office for the Aging. So Office for the Aging has many programs that help individuals 60 and over stay independent in their own homes. They're the sponsor of Saratoga County RSVP. We, like Diane, have what we call stations, locations that we help recruit volunteers for. We have currently about 30 different locations with many various opportunities to serve the volunteers. Also, as Diane said, we are kind of like matchmaking. We have people come in, they're not sure maybe what they want to do to help out their community, so we can help share the information that we have about all these locations and the various job descriptions, opportunities, if you will, that are available to help meet the individual's interest and the community need. The scale of usage for volunteers for us, we have about 210 on our volunteer roster. During COVID, it was difficult to keep many people engaged. I probably had about a handful of locations that were sorry about that. I'm in a room with an activated light. Knew that was going to happen. I really apologize. And so right now we're back up to 78 active volunteers. We started a couple new programs so that we were able to utilize volunteers, such as our telecare senior care call program. We keep them, we kept them engaged by coming together for in-services, meetings, newsletters, mass emails, recognition events, And with COVID, everything had changed. So we still did our newsletters, and we did a lot of mass emails and topic related to share information, such as the vaccine, for instance, for COVID. And we shared one about all various kinds of technology programs that were mostly free for seniors to participate in. We had a wonderful, just a couple weeks ago, a drive-through recognition event because we had to reinvent the way we did our recognition. It was not as highly attended as an in-person, but people were so appreciative. We got so many thank you cards. It was amazing. It was really great. Recruitment methods, we're pretty much still doing the same as we always were. We use Facebook, press releases, mass emails, like with maybe advertising new positions that are available for people to take part in. I haven't been, obviously not doing the presentations, and I personally have not been that involved with doing many over the Zoom network. The tasks, there's really that's one thing I love about RSVP. There's such a wide variety of tasks that are available. Just give you a for instance, we have receptionists, food pantry assistants, hospice type caregivers, gardeners, maintenance, blood mobile assistants, docents at museums, home delivered meal program, which we've still been utilizing during COVID, health insurance counselors, which we've turned to somewhat online, same as our exercise leaders. We've shared video. We have medical transport drivers that we still utilize, just following more protocol of safety provisions for that. But there really is a large array of opportunity. I think I covered everything expected. Thank you all.
Thanks, Billy Joe.
Welcome.
Meredith, why don't you go next?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. I'm Meredith Osta from Community Caregivers. I'm sure many of you are familiar with Community Caregivers. We've been in the community for a little over 25 years. For us, I think as for many agencies, with the pandemic, we really had to be able to think outside the box and be a little flexible with our volunteers and our clients. Prior to COVID, we did services that many of you, I'm sure, also do. We did transportation to medical appointments, and also to some appointments that are considered non-essential but still important, such as going to the barber shop or maybe bringing someone out to a community event. We also did friendly visits prior to COVID, grocery shopping, again, concrete services that really will allow adults in the community to continue living independently in their homes. The friendly visits were really important prior to COVID, because for many of the folks we work with, that might be the only source of social interaction that they have. So when we could no longer provide the friendly visits, we really needed to look at increasing our friendly phone calls. So we always did check-in phone calls, assurance calls, as we like to call them before, but we really needed to increase that with so many of our adults we work with, especially those that are homebound. So that really gave us a great opportunity to bring in more volunteers, because for many volunteers, they're already so busy, they have commitments, but making a phone call is something that generally a lot of people can fit into their schedule. So I think for us, for our agency personally, we found that we actually increased our volunteers because we had a need for so many more phone calls. So we have also struggled with recruiting new volunteers at the rate we would like to, because we're not out in the community. I'm not giving presentations to different communities or speaking at local neighborhood events. So for us, it really has been, I think like everyone else, trying to maintain a really heavy social media presence, That's something that we, tried to stay on top of. Community partners, that's been a huge source of support for us. So, sharing with like agencies, many of whom are here today, sharing our volunteer orientation schedules, or sharing them with libraries, different chambers of commerce. We've really been trying to count on the support of our community partners to get the word out that, we're still here, we're still providing services to the adults in the community, but we also always need volunteers who can help us to continue to provide them. We've also been doing, I think, Billy Joe, like you were saying, kind of the newsletters and, really trying to stay connected with our volunteers. We also, last fall, we did a drive-through volunteer appreciation event. Again, kind of trying to think outside the box. But I have to say it was a huge success, and it gave us an opportunity to really connect in person with our volunteers, because I think we all know that having that personal connection is really crucial to volunteer retention. So I think we're trying a lot of similar tactics that many other agencies are, just trying to stay out there, stay present, and really, again, kind of focus on the sharing of our community partners.
Thank you. Tara?
I'm the new kid on the block, so I'm writing lots of notes from you guys. Basically, it sounds like Meredith and I have a lot in common. I mean, you pretty much said a lot of what I was going to share about us with CareLinks. We are going into our 25th year, and so we have a big goal of bringing in 25 volunteers this year. But like everyone else, from what I'm hearing, the trend as far as bringing in new blood has been a challenge, and it's a great opportunity for all of us. One thing that I have been doing differently in the past, I've only been with CareLinks going into my 4th month, whereas I've been in the nonprofit world for about 12 years, mainly managing volunteers. So what I've been doing is working on bringing in my personal volunteers that I've used for other areas, for things that I'm involved in. But I've also started going out into the community, knocking on doors, going to doctors' offices, going to churches, calling ahead, making sure they're open, so that I'm not driving around like crazy mileage on my car. But that's one thing that's actually been really receptive, and being able to just educate people on what we do, because I'm always surprised as to how many people out there have not heard of Captain, because I always think that we're a big name, when I came on, and then to find that we're really not, not in my head, it wasn't the same. So that's where I've been having some success. And since going out, we have had some phone calls in response to me bringing these flyers out and our pamphlets out and the collateral. So that's one thing that I've done differently from what has been done in the past with the people before me. As far as the services that we're offering, currently we're mainly no contact. Again, much of what we do relates to you, Meredith. I always look at it as adopting a grandparent. When I'm talking to a volunteer and bringing them on board, I say, what would you want to do if, when I go to my Nana's, or when I used to go to my Nana's, if I walked in, I saw dirty dishes in her sink, I'd be like, Nana, I'm going to do your dishes, so I do the dishes, or I'd make her bed, or maybe throw a load of laundry in. So that's kind of how I approach the volunteers as to what we do. It's taking the whole the idea of just adopting and taking on someone to love and to nurture, and just kind of be that warm fuzzy person for them. So with us not really being able to do all that right now, currently what we are doing, as Meredith said, is we've upped our phone reassurance calls. We're also doing the no contact grocery shopping, running errands, getting the medication for them. Outdoor chores now is something that we've been getting phone calls about, and we're able to start filling, which is volunteers are appreciating, because they want to do more than what I've just mentioned. But we also are we're also providing the transportation to doctors' offices, helping them get the vaccine. If they're seniors who are having difficulty getting the vaccine as far as they don't have a computer or something of that nature, we have volunteers who are helping people to get that and then get them to their appointments. So that's kind of what we're doing right now. And the goal with our volunteers, the ones that I have brought on board, is I'm sharing with them, this is what we're offering right now, but the goal will be that we can then pivot when all this mess is over with COVID. We can then pivot to what we really want to be able to do, and I know that you want to do, by joining us, and that's being able to have that real personal one-on-one connection. So I think that approach has been helpful, instead of just saying to people that we've been bringing on board that we really can't do much right now except make a phone call, but I've given them the light at the end of the tunnel by sharing with them what the next step will be by coming in the door now. So, and the things that we do, we have actually started the last 3 months now a real newsletter, not just an email with updates, but we've made it fun, interactive. We put things in there that our volunteers can share with their seniors, but not just share with them, but also some great things for them, activities, fun little stories, little comics. We've made it a real newsletter. So that's something different we've implemented. And we've also been amping up our Zoom meetings as well. And the other thing that I did when I came on board a couple months ago was just start making personal one-on-one phone calls to every volunteer in our database to introduce myself, get to know them, ask them for their feedback about the program, things that they'd like to see. And I think what was really good about that, even though it took a lot of time, it was great because they could see that there's a bigger picture. It opened up more conversation about opportunities we had open. And now when I send out what I found has also been helpful, when I send out little emails to the mass emailing, Billy Joe, as you mentioned, if I have a care receiver or a senior who has an immediate need, I've been putting that in the bottom of it. And so that helped. As an example, yesterday I had someone who called me and someone to come do yard cleanup, and I threw that in the bottom of an email, and I got 3 people back responding going where and when. So those are just a little bit of some of the things that we've been doing at CareLinks.
That's great. Thank you.
Carrie, can I mention one other thing that I just thought about that I just wanted to mention to everyone? One thing that we found that's been really popular with both our clients and our volunteers is that we started a phone-in presentation program. We call it our lunchtime chats. If anybody is interested, just to let you know, every month we put the schedule on our website, but it's been really wildly popular, I have to say, with everybody we work with. So twice a week you can phone in, because we know that technology can be an issue, and we didn't want to have anybody, that had to use Zoom or anything else. They simply dial a number and they're immediately connected to this presentation. It's meant to be informative, entertaining, sometimes fun, we hope. Our topics vary from taking care of house plans to the history of the New York State Thruway. We have a variety of speakers from the Capital District. We also work with Albany Medical College students. They volunteer with us. So those students have been really great as well as far as presenting topics. But it's something that we found, like I said, very popular, and a way for us to connect with both our volunteers, clients, and any other community members as well. So again, that's something that we share on our website. It's updated every month, but Tuesdays and Thursdays, there's, or Tuesdays and Fridays, I'm sorry, there's a phone-in presentation. So again, kind of thinking outside the box, how we can continue to engage the community at large. So I just wanted to make note of that as well.
Thanks, Meredith. I think I had sent one of you have attached like a PDF of upcoming ones, and I had sent it out for those of you on our distribution list, that list at some point. I was wondering something about those. So when people call in, they're connected to a presentation. Is it a two-way communication? Like after the presentation, are people able to ask questions or talk to each other as part of it as well?
Yes, absolutely. So, they dial on that number, and if they can't dial on that number, just to kind of put that out there as well, they let us know, and then we just patch them in to the call as well, because we know so many people do have, different vision issues or other things. But So yes, it can be interactive. It's supposed to be interactive. I will tell you that when I've had the opportunity to be in the office, which is limited these days for us still, but you know, I've answered the phone on several occasions, and it's been after one of these chats, and it's been one of our community members, clients calling in to say how much they enjoyed it. I had one woman who said, you know, she looks forward to it because she can plan her day around it. I know we were talking in the last piece about, you know, how people need to have something that they can look forward to kind of plan and schedule their day around. And that's exactly the feedback that I was getting from the people that called, just to say that they looked forward to knowing that twice a week they have something that they can participate in if they choose to. If not, you know, they can just sit back, they can just listen, and they can just digest the information. So really, we're really pleased with that, and that's something that obviously we're going to continue, you know, even in this new normal, I guess we'll call it.
Thanks. Do any of you have questions for each other?
You know, I was thinking we should probably get on each other's mailing list. So like we do an email every week through Volgistics, which is our software. And then we do a monthly newsletter that goes out to over 5,200 people in the community. And so, you know, there's way, and we're doing a ton of Zoom things, and we're doing similar, you know, the groceries, and we have a program called Umbrella with the yard work. And so there, it sounds like there's a lot of commonality or common ground. You know, we might be sharing it as different terms, but overall the idea of making sure that we're advocating for seniors. That's really what it boils down to. You know, somebody had mentioned about the vaccines, and we just were overwhelmed with requests, people not having the technology to get vaccinated. And between volunteers and staff, we've been able to have about 1,100 people vaccinated. And we've driven them to Gloversville and Wine and Skill, the TU Center, and so forth. But, you know, somebody might have been doing something even in regards to getting people vaccinated that might have been helpful for us, because just the amount of time, you know, getting up at 2 a.m. to see if there's any tickets available. And, you know, and I think just kind of sharing of resources would benefit really everybody involved.
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, maybe Carrie, if you could maybe send us out an email after just kind of sharing all of our information, that would probably be really helpful.
Sure, I can absolutely do that for the four of you, and also for anybody else who is joining us and might want to be added to that. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there would be a really smooth technological solution without a lot of emails. And I don't know if there's a positive answer to that, but at the least, yeah, just getting on each other's email lists. I receive some of your emails, and sometimes I really want to join something, and then it's like, I don't know if Mike would allow me to be doing that during work hours. So I usually don't, but there's definitely a lot of interesting programs.
If I could get everyone's snail mail address, that would be great, because, you know, our newsletter, for the most part, is hard copy, and it's just, I'd love to share it if we could. You know, a couple other resources. We had a company give us 15 laptops, so if people are getting more comfortable or more willing to learn Zoom or whatever that is, those we just loan out to the community. So if there's someone in, you know, your network that needs a laptop, I mean, we'd be more than willing to share. Today with the regional food bank drop, we're doing about 250 homes. If you have seniors, we primarily do Albany County, but seniors within your network who really have food insecurities, we have no issue adding people. So those are the types of things I think would be great to share resources.
For those of you attending, feel free to put in the chat or to put your hand up if you're in here as an attendee, and I can enable you to speak. um, there was a question that we had received in the registration form that we had online about reimbursing for transportation. Do programs reimburse for transportation? And if they do, is that a draw for volunteers? So I think I know the answer for RSVP. That yes, you can, the RSVP. Billy Joe or Diane, do you want to talk about how that works?
Sure. So we do have individuals who will drive someone, to something, but also Colony Senior Service Centers has a transportation department. So we have 12 vehicles already, and we're fortunate through the 5310 and then a corporate donation this year, we're going to be acquiring 3 more. So over the years, we've gotten more where we've used our transportation. It only makes sense, and so our drivers are all vetted and, they're under our insurance and so forth, because we have had issues with, in regards to insurance coverage and liability if something was to happen using a volunteer driver. And so we've kind of gone more towards the model of one of our paid drivers assisting. But we do have, circumstances come up, even with our umbrella program. Somebody wants to have, a senior wants to have, I don't know, their bathroom redone was an example. And so the handy person who we sent over there actually drove this person to, I don't know, it was Home Depot or Lowe's, so that they could have a sense of, different styles. And so those things do come up, but we don't reimburse for mileage.
Yeah, same here. We used to. I've been in the office 20 years this year. RSVP did have a small reimbursement for volunteers that wanted to put in mileage. I think back then it was 19 cents a mile or something. It was very tiny. But I forgot what came along, if it was budgeting or what, but they did away with that mileage reimbursement. We the same. We have, for our medical transport here in the office, the county supplies the van and the gas, so the volunteers don't have to use their own vehicles. For home delivered meals, most townships, the volunteers use their own vehicles and their own gas. However, there are less than a handful of towns that will reimburse the volunteers for their trip of delivering meals, not their trip to the site where they pick them up and drop them off, but the actual commute up between the houses to do the route.
And I'll just say for community caregivers, no, we do not. I'm sure we would love to, if but as you know, we're a small nonprofit agency, and our resources really are better spent elsewhere. We still use volunteer drivers. I know, as Diane was mentioning, there's some agencies that have chosen to get away from that, but again, given our size and the number of volunteers and clients we have, it still makes sense for us. I think one of the things that you find is that, looking at reimbursement, when volunteers come in, they're usually pretty specific in what they want to do, meaning that, people who want to drive, they want to drive, and they assume all that goes along with driving, meaning, mileage, they're going to be paying for their gas. So that has really not been an issue for us. Are we always looking for more drivers? Yes, we are, because again, we have that kind of core group of drivers that we generally depend on. With that being said, though, there's no reimbursement for drivers.
And Captain is very similar as well, again, as Meredith. We do have our Wellness Express program, which has our paid drivers, and we have our van, but that is a separate program than CareLinks, which is our volunteer-based program. It is strictly volunteer. The volunteers, when we match them, or if they sign into our ride scheduler program, they pick and choose what rides they like. It's based on their availability. If it's something where they're not going to go on to see what's available for taking a ride, and we're strictly calling them or matching them to someone, during the matching process, they will share with us what areas that they want to stay in. And they're very specific. If they live in Burnt Hills or Ballston Lake, for example, they will say, I am not driving to Albany. It's like, no problem. We do have care receivers that are in your area, and maybe they just need to go down the road. So we do make notes on what they're with that, because again, it is their dime. Like Meredith said, they're donating all their time, all their resources, for the better of others.
Great. So Peggy put a note in the chat. She works in Bethlehem, and she said the town of Bethlehem has 10 vehicles, both cars and vans, and they have volunteers as drivers for those vehicles. She also asked a question. I think this is for Diane. Are you saying that you can loan out the laptops to anyone in Albany County?
So it's not to anyone, and it's based on availability. It's for seniors. So the whole idea behind that is to get people up on Zoom. We're offering a couple things a day, a whole variety. We're doing virtual tours, and we're doing cooking demonstrations and so forth. So those are for those individuals who are isolated, as Kevin talked about, and just allowing them the ability of interaction with others. So give us a call, Peggy, okay?
We did have another question about vaccinations. Specifically, are agencies considering using only vaccinated volunteers? The question was specifically for transportation.
For transportation, we use volunteer escorts. So we'll have a driver who's paid, and then an escort very well could be a volunteer. We're not requiring vaccinations. We've had a couple of clinics. We've made it readily available, but we've had residents choose not to be vaccinated. Volunteers have chosen not to be vaccinated, and some staff has chosen not to be vaccinated. So it is absolutely not mandatory here.
I'll agree with that as well. Just like Diane said, we have, some of our clients we work with that don't want to get vaccinated. I will say though, the majority of our volunteers, it seems like, have been really proactive in going out there, getting vaccinated and letting us know. Again, we are not mandating anyone because, we were doing essential medical transports, right at the start of COVID. And, there wasn't a vaccine at that time. So we had to make a decision, how we were going to move forward without a vaccine. So we put safety protocols in place, masks, social distancing, having the person sit in the back of the car when necessary, things like that. So moving forward, again, we do know which of our volunteers are vaccinated, but at this point, that has not come into play, and we are not considering mandating it on either end right now.
Captain takes the same stance as well. We're the exact same, Meredith.
Same here.
Great. And Peggy also threw in the chat that they're in Bethlehem also not requiring it for their volunteers. Have you found that some of the people that you're transporting are asking that question, or that some of your volunteers are asking, like, if they are they telling you that they are concerned or that they only want to be in a vehicle with somebody who's been vaccinated?
I'm not hearing that from anyone.
I think for us, people are more worried about social distancing, mask wearing. I've had people, we have shields, so if somebody wants a shield, they can put that on as well. So, hand sanitizer readily available. Those are the things, did you wipe it down before I got into the bus? But I haven't had any questions about vaccinations.
Yeah, we really haven't either. And again, I think that we have developed a really great relationship with our volunteers. So they tell us when they're ready. There's volunteers that said, whoa, I'm only going to make phone calls. I'm not going to transport. That's fine. And then, I found over the past couple months that, people have been saying, hey, I'm going to have my second vaccine next week. Put me back as active, a few weeks after that. So I think the volunteers have been really good about kind of self-selecting out if they don't feel comfortable. and then, knowing when they're ready to kind of rejoin whatever they were doing before.
I'm just looking at the chat. Peggy also said that more of their drivers have asked if the riders are vaccinated than the passenger asking. Any attendees have any questions that you didn't put in the registration? Well, we did get sort of an interesting question in the registration. Somebody asked, I'll just read it. It says, I would like there to be discussion on providing value and appreciation to volunteers. So we did talk about the appreciation part, but it says, how are organizations ensuring that they are willing to start providing compensation for work when they should? So I think I think where this person was going with the question is, do you have volunteers that you find yourself relying on more and more and more to do, consistent work? And is there a point at which it becomes more of an employee kind of relationship where there may be tension there because you're over relying on the, the good nature, right, of a volunteer to want to help?
I'll take that first, if that's okay, because mine will be quick, Meredith. I would say, generally speaking, with the volunteers that we have with Care Links with Captain, is that there's a really good healthy mix. I mean, I'm very conscious. I know when I'm reaching out to volunteers for a specific need, I'm not calling the same, I'm not going down the list in the same direction every time, for example. So I'm not hitting Susie Q, every single time I need to call someone first. I'm going to mix it up, and I pay attention to who I've utilized, but at the same time, our programs are so based on people can go online. I think Diane, you mentioned this. You can go on and see what's available or what's needed, and you can sign up for yourself. So I'll say for Captain, I don't find that being the case. And we also really encourage our volunteers to really share with us what it is that they're feeling. If they are feeling overwhelmed or if they need to step back a little bit, I mean, we really keep that communication going with them so that no one feels that way, because we do value them and we don't want to lose someone due to volunteer burnout, which can happen, as we all know. And I turn it over to you, Meredith.
Sure. I was going to say, I don't do any of the matching of the volunteers with the services, but what I can say, we have a wonderful services coordinator he does that. But what I can say is that we really promote ourselves as a no guilt organization. I mean, I think, any of our volunteers, they'll hear this from day one in our orientations, which we all do virtually by Zoom these days. But I think that's one of the reasons why we have such a great retention rate for our volunteers. Because when we say we're no guilt, we truly mean it. So that means, anything comes up, or you just, you're going on vacation, or maybe you just don't feel like doing a transport or grocery shopping. All we ask you to do is that they communicate it with us. But we really try to promote that we are a no guilt agency. And I think that we really do convey that as a team pretty clearly to all of our volunteers. Again, which is why we have some volunteers that have been with us, 10 or 15 years. So I think that speaks a lot to the value, support, and recognition we give our volunteers.
So I can say here, well, with RSVP, it would be up to the locations on what they're doing with their volunteers. I definitely don't hear a lot of feedback that they're being used too much or are displeased in any way. And here at the Office for the Aging, since I'm so closely tied, it's funny because when we started utilizing volunteers again for the home delivered meal program, it was kind of hard to get them, although it was a contactless delivery. So in certain areas, we may have combined routes. So for example, a volunteer did 2 routes, And we wanted to be sure we're always moving forward. So when COVID ends, we'll be ready for our programming again. So we were integrating more volunteers, and some of the volunteers were like, why are you taking the double route away from me? I want to do both routes. It was kind of funny how that worked, but I don't feel that I never hear that they're overutilized here.
And in regards to our volunteers, oftentimes similar to what Billy Joe just said, we have volunteers who have come on and they've found their niche and they want to keep that niche. And so we are continually thanking them, whether it's gifts, or the luncheons, the recognition and so forth. We have a toolbox. It's a secondhand tool thrift store. It's on Troy Schenectady Road, and that is run by volunteers. And we're open Tuesday through Saturday. And the revenue we make there actually goes towards scholarships for this umbrella program. And, that's really a community. It's primarily men. There are a couple of women, but, that's their day and that's their time slot. And, so there is a sense of support, but they're finding things they thoroughly enjoy themselves. And I've never had someone say, gosh, I feel like I should be paid, which, thank goodness. Our umbrella program, we do pay. That's the one where it's the home maintenance program. And everybody gets paid $15 an hour. When I started here almost 5 years ago, it was like $11 an hour. And we've gone up because of the quality of the individuals who are doing the home maintenance for individuals. It seems like it's a fair wage. I think we probably would have people who come and help. Sometimes we'll get a senior who can't afford, especially with snow shoveling or snow plowing, and they just can't afford whatever. Say it's 3 hours to do somebody's property. So we do what we call it a community care account here, and we will, or a handy person will donate their time. But there's a lot of respect. People are really truly into the mission of supporting seniors. So thank goodness we don't have that as an issue. A lot of people want to just come and help.
Great. Dwight Mangle asked if you promote your services with using videos. So I know like Tara talked about the hand, bringing pieces of paper to churches and places to promote services. Do you use videos?
I'll just jump in because that'll be quick. No, we currently don't. Maybe that's in our future, again, we're really looking at, probably a lot of the changes we made moving forward. Some of them are going to stick around. So right now for us, again, the only thing we do is we're really trying to get out there on social media and have a presence that way and through our community partners. And we use, Zoom technology primarily for volunteer orientations or other types of events, but no videos. But if there's anybody out there that wants to make one for us, contact me. We're more than happy to.
I'll jump in. We do use videos. So if you go to our website, we have one, and we've broken it up by program. So we have one that talks about transportation for the organization. We have one that is about our adult day social program, Bright Horizons. We have one that deals with the umbrella and the home maintenance and the supporting of that. We also have a YouTube channel, and we're doing a ton. Right now we're doing videos, Women of Distinction. We're trying to give credit where credit's due. So we're doing Let's Have a Conversation, and twice a month we go out and we interview a female who's maybe had an incredible career that hasn't been recognized, or does really cool hobbies, or has come up with a second career after retirement. And so what we're finding is those are more and more of those are going up, and people are, finding it either through our channel on YouTube or Facebook Live. And so we have found videos to be incredibly helpful.
Sure. So with us, we don't, at first I was thinking you meant to promote RSVP, and no, we do not have a video on that. However, we do have videos to promote. I don't know if I'd consider it to promote, to share information. We have like a Medicare 101, and new to Medicare, and we've posted those videos. For exercise, we have chair yoga that we posted, and also an osteoporosis exercise program.